As children, many of us pictured a Gotham City with no shadow whatsoever. Our screens showed us punches that turned into floating comic words like pow and bam, along with a glorious Batman poured into a snug costume. If you were the kind of kid who never missed a weekly episode and who proudly recited Robin's ridiculous holy sayings to friends on a school bus, then congratulations. You had a truly complete childhood. But what if that light-hearted innocence nearly never saw the light of day? Once you scrape away the bright paint of 1966, the Batman we loved turns out to have hidden secrets no child was meant to see. A show that almost became a grim crime drama. Action sequences that looked laughably silly, yet somehow tricked millions. And those famous costumes that were actually dangerous enough to threaten the actors' lives. Now it's time to push open the strange, darker backstage door of the 1966 Batman series and see that familiar childhood favorite in a completely new way. One that the surprising pay disparities among the cast. The salaries for the Batman cast were remarkably generous by 1960s standards. Adam West, the famous face of the series, took home around $2,000 per episode, which was an enormous sum back then. Following him, M. Blake and Harriet, and Alan Napier, Alfred, each collected $500 per episode. Neil Hamilton, Commissioner Gordon, and Stafford Rep. Sergeant O'Hara earned roughly $450 per episode. The biggest surprise, however, involved Robin. Even though he appeared in almost every episode as half of the famous duo, Burt Ward received merely $350 per episode. The explanation is straightforward. When he was hired, Ward was an unknown with no bargaining power, unlike his older, well-established co-stars. That pay gap clearly illustrates how Hollywood worked at the time. Fame counted for more than screen time. Looking back now, it's shocking that the boy who yelled "Holy something Batman" was the main cast's lowest earner. 2. The life-threatening danger of Batgirl's costume. Batgirl's costume was extremely hazardous. Remember that image of Batgirl riding her motorcycle into the frame, dressed in a tight purple outfit, a tiny mask, and her trademark confident grin? On television, it looked like the ideal 1960s female hero. But underneath that shiny fabric lurked one of the most dangerous costumes ever worn on the Batman set. Yvonne Craig's Batgirl suit was made from a satin and spandex mix that was very trendy at the time, beautiful and glossy, but completely unable to breathe under studio lights as hot as ovens. Craig regularly overheated, got dizzy, and suffered dehydration. She later said in interviews and her memoir that some shooting days had to be stopped just so she could lie down and catch her breath. Even worse, the suit was so tight that it seriously limited her movement. High kicks, spins, and falls, all standard moves on Batman 1966, became real risks. Craig slipped because of the slippery fabric, and during one action scene, she hurt her back, leaving her in pain for weeks. No spectacular action shot came without a price, did it? 3. The Batmobile's race against time. The famous Batmobile was created under huge time pressure. Did the sight of that car roaring out of the Batcave, Robin clutching his seat while Batman calmly steered, ever make you leap off your couch? That moment convinced the entire 1960s that Gotham owned the coolest car on television. It's still one of the most iconic vehicles in TV history, but it was built in a frantic rush. The producers needed the Batmobile fast. So car customizer George Barris took a 1955 Lincoln Futura concept car and had exactly 21 days to turn it into something worthy of Gotham. He welded on tail fins, added a bat-shaped grille, installed superhero gadgets, and finished just in time for filming. The car didn't just work, it set the visual style for Batman 1966 and became a pop culture legend. 4. William Dozier's unexpected casting decision. William Dozier made one of the strangest casting choices by picking himself. Dozier was responsible for many of Batman's bold casting decisions, such as bringing in Burgess Meredith as the Penguin and Cesar Romero as the Joker. But his most unexpected move was choosing himself. After auditioning several people for the narrator role and failing to find anyone who could deliver the over-the-top, melodramatic style he wanted, Dozier decided that nobody had the right flair except him. So he took the job under the fake name Desmond Doomsday, creating the distinctive tone of dramatic parody that defined Batman 1966. The narrator audiences heard for years wasn't anonymous after all. He had a name, a voice, and a clear purpose. Dozier understood that in Gotham's bright, crazy world, exaggeration wasn't a flaw, it was a style. And sometimes the smoothest voice is the most dangerous one. 5. Burt Ward's real-life perils as Robin. Burt Ward didn't just act like Robin. He had to live like him. Do you recall Robin hanging from ropes, jumping off rooftops, or running into crowds of henchmen while shouting a never-ending stream of holy phrases? On screen, it looked like colorful 1960s fun. In real life, it was a disaster waiting to happen. To save money, the studio refused to hire a stunt double for Burt Ward. So Ward did nearly all his own stunts. Real punches, real falls, real explosions. He got burned by pyrotechnics, cut by broken props. And during one chase, he was thrown from a moving car. Once, after a messed-up rooftop gag, Ward chipped a tooth and bruised several ribs. Still, the cameras kept rolling. Later, Ward joked that his call sheet might, as well have read, get hurt again today. Yet he kept showing up for every episode, every jump, every panicked exclamation, enduring the pain inside that tight costume and suffocating mask. 6. The series that almost became a serious crime drama. Batman almost became a serious crime drama. If you watch some early episodes again, you might notice something strange. Under the bright colors, there's still a faint trace of noir-style detective storytelling. That wasn't an accident. When the project was first proposed, producer William Dozier honestly wanted Batman to be a serious series about crime, investigation, and darkness, closer to the 1940s comics than to a children's show. But ABC saw a different opportunity. According to later interviews with Dozier and writer Lorenzo Semple Jr., the network wanted a loud, flashy, easy-to-watch program that would attract both kids and adults after dinner. Instead of hiding the natural silliness of comic books, they decided to go all in: bright colors, exaggerated dialogue, pow and bam sound effects, and purposely over-the-top acting. That choice completely changed the show. Batman stopped pretending to be realistic and became a full-blown camp spectacle, almost like a live-action cartoon. Ironically, it was exactly that lack of seriousness that helped the series outlive many other shows from its time. 7. Frank Gorshin and the Riddler's salary dispute. Frank Gorshin's Riddler was born for the role, but money got in the way. Frank Gorshin's Riddler was one of the most explosive characters on Batman 1966. Loud laughter, constant twitching, fast talking, and hardly ever standing still. On screen, he seemed like a storm of pure energy. But underneath the green question mark suit was a very practical problem: salary. By the second season, Gorshin asked for a raise. He knew he'd become one of the show's most popular villains. But the producers said no. Negotiations broke down, and Gorshin left. To fill the gap, ABC introduced a replacement villain called the Puzzler, who wore glasses, spoke formally, and even quoted Shakespeare. Viewers hated him, and ratings dropped noticeably. By season 3, Gorshin returned, proving that some roles seem replaceable until the audience says otherwise. 8. Cesar Romero's unshavable mustache. Cesar Romero refused to shave his mustache, even for the Joker. Few people know that Cesar Romero had one rule he wouldn't break. His mustache had to stay, even under the Joker's famous white makeup. Instead of arguing, the makeup artists just painted over it in every episode. If you look carefully, you can still see it under the grease paint, twitching with every smile. Especially in Close UPS, when the Joker laughs loudly or tilts his head under the lights. That mustache is still visible, a little darker in tone and subtly vibrating with every line of dialogue. It remains one of the strangest makeup decisions in TV history, and somehow it made the Joker even creepier. 9. The strange truth about the Batcave's map. The giant map in the Batcave wasn't Gotham at all. Sharp-eyed viewers noticed something odd about that huge map on the Batcave wall. It's not Gotham. It's actually a real map of St. Louis, Missouri, flipped upside down and reused as Batman's Secret City layout. Why? Budget. They needed props quickly, so the art department just used what they already had. The funny thing is, that map appears again and again across many episodes, with Batman and Robin pointing at it completely seriously, as if they're studying top-secret intelligence. After you learn this, Every time you rewatch the show, you no longer see Gotham. You just see Missouri being fought over in the most dramatic way possible. 10. Robin's improvised exclamations. Robin's famous holy exclamations were made up on the spot. Do you remember when Robin's eyes went wide, he pointed dramatically, and yelled, "Holy ravioli, Batman"? Those lines sound like they were carefully written, but most of them were invented right there on the set. Burt Ward was told to say anything silly enough and loud enough for kids to remember. Ward said in many interviews that he often came up with the lines just seconds before the cameras rolled. Holy iceberg, holy safari, holy double talk. If it sounded fun and didn't slow down the scene, the producers approved it. Over time, it became a trademark of the show. Robin didn't just react to danger. He commented on it with exclamations, so ridiculous they were almost surreal. That repetition made audiences wait eagerly to see what Robin would holy next. 11. The producer who knew nothing about Batman. The producer had never read a Batman comic before taking the job. Like someone showing up at a costume party without ever having seen the invitation. William Dozier admitted he had never read a single Batman comic before he got the job. And that ignorance turned into one of the show's biggest creative strengths. His complete lack of respect for the source material freed him from fan expectations and pressure, letting him see Batman as a strange idea. A billionaire dressed like a bat fighting criminals in broad daylight. Where comic book fans might have played it straight, Dozier turned Batman into pop art. Sometimes creative genius comes from not knowing what you're supposedly not allowed to do. 12. How Batman forced America to rearrange its schedule. Batman forced all of America to rearrange its TV schedule. When Batman first aired in 1966, ABC made an unprecedented move. They showed 2 episodes per week on Wednesday and Thursday nights using a cliffhanger format. The first episode ended in the middle of a crisis, and the second one resolved it. According to internal ABC documents later quoted in Dozier's memoirs, the goal was clear: to lock viewers into the Batman time slot. If you missed Wednesday night, Thursday night wouldn't make any sense. That was a huge gamble. No primetime show had ever asked audiences to tune in on 2 nights in a row, let alone rearrange family dinners, kids' homework, and daily routines around one TV show. But the gamble worked. According to Nielsen ratings, Batman quickly became one of the most watched programs in America, especially among families with children. Many TV historians now call this strategy a forerunner of appointment television. Shows you had to watch on time or be left behind. 13. The Batusi dance craze. The Batusi dance craze started as an improvised joke. Do you remember when Batman stepped onto a dance floor and broke into stiff but confident moves while still wearing his batsuit? The Batusi was never in any script. Adam West made it up on the spot just to fill a comedic moment, and nobody expected it to become a nationwide sensation. Within weeks, teenagers all across America were copying Batman's hip swivels and his very serious finger-pointing at school dances. The Batusi showed up on TV dance shows, got mentioned in newspapers, and appeared in films and commercials throughout the late 1960s. DJs even started calling out the dance by name on the floor, and crowds instantly knew what to do. It was perfect proof of Batman's cultural power. One improvised moment was enough to start an entire trend. One awkward dance, one batsuit, and America swayed together to the rhythm. 14. The utility belt as a deliberate joke. The utility belt was a joke delivered with total seriousness. All through the series, Batman's utility belt held every kind of impossible item. Shark repellent spray, instant antidotes, even objects so illogical they were simply funny. According to the writers and producers, including William Dozier, this was a deliberate choice to turn extreme over-preparedness into the comedic identity of TV's Batman. Instead of trying to explain things scientifically, they pushed the absurdity to the limit for laughs, and the audience immediately understood the joke. Those gadgets also reflected the campy spirit ABC wanted. Batman was always one step ahead, not because he was superhuman, but because he was ridiculously overprepared. That impossible level of readiness turned the utility belt into a cultural icon, both a life-saving tool and a long-running inside joke through the whole series. 15. The simple truth behind the building climbs. The famous building climbs were actually done on the floor. Do you remember Batman and Robin clinging to ropes, climbing straight up Gotham's buildings with their capes flapping, while ordinary people leaned out of windows to greet them? Those scenes looked like dangerous stunts, where one slip could be disastrous. But the truth was much simpler. The whole wall was actually lying flat on the studio floor. Adam West and Burt Ward just walked normally while the camera was rotated 90 degrees to fool the audience. No cables, no real height, no danger. Thanks to this cheap but clever trick, the show could bring in lots of celebrity guest stars to appear mid-climb. Sammy Davis Jr., Dick Clark, Jerry Lewis, who only had to step sideways into the frame and exchange a few lines as if they were standing 10 stories up. 16. Vincent Price's Real Egg Incident. Vincent Price once broke the script with a real egg. Vincent Price came to the Batman set like a classic Hollywood gentleman, elegant, witty, and totally in control. The role of Egghead, a villain obsessed with eggs, seemed made for him. But during one climactic scene, Price decided to go beyond the script. He grabbed a real egg and threw it straight at Burt Ward's head. The egg smashed right in front of the camera. The yolk ran down Robin's mask and into his hair. The whole set froze. The director stood motionless. The cameras kept rolling. Vincent Price laughed and treated it as a spontaneous theatrical moment. Burt Ward did not laugh. Ward walked off the set in anger right away. According to his later accounts, it wasn't a joke, but an act of disrespect, especially on a show that depended on trust and safety between actors. The two exchanged harsh words backstage, and their relationship never fully recovered. 17. Adam West's battered body. Adam West's body took a brutal beating. Every time Batman charged into action, the price wasn't visible on screen. It was paid by Adam West's body. Throughout the filming of Batman 1966, West kept doing his own stunts, jumping over cars, falling from low heights, and wrestling on concrete floors while wearing a thick, stiff costume. The result was a list of injuries longer than any TV actor would want. West cracked ribs, tore shoulder muscles, lifting heavy props, and badly bruised his hip in one fall, leaving him unable to sit properly for weeks. 18. The fleet of multiple Batmobiles. There were actually multiple Batmobiles, not just one. On screen, the Batmobile looks like a single unmistakable icon, sleek, aggressive, instantly recognizable. But the backstage truth was much more complicated. The Batmobile in Batman 1966 wasn't one car, it was a whole fleet. George Barris based it on the 1955 Lincoln Futura concept car, but once the series went into rushed production, one vehicle wasn't enough. At least 3 or 4 different Batmobile versions were built and used at the same time. One hero car for clothes UPS, one for high-speed driving shots, one for stunts, and a lighter version for interior scenes. Each car was modified for a specific filming purpose. Some couldn't actually drive. Some lacked full equipment. Some existed just to look good while parked. But through careful camera work and clever editing, audiences believed they were seeing a single car. And you were fooled too. 19. The creation of the Bat-tail silhouette. The Bat-tail cape silhouette was carefully designed. Do you remember shots of Batman standing on top of buildings, his cape spreading into jagged bat-like edges whenever the wind caught it? That bat-tail shape wasn't accidental or just for decoration. In Batman 1966, the cape with its distinctive scalloped edges came directly from Bob Kane's original 1939 comic book design. 20. The ghost town that wandered into Gotham. A ghost town from a sci-fi movie wandered into Gotham. Do you remember the scene where Batman walks into a deserted, silent town with nobody in sight? From the episode Population Zero? It looks like it was built specially for one of Gotham's creepiest cases. But actually, Gotham was only visiting temporarily. That abandoned town set wasn't built for Batman 1966 at all. It was a leftover film set from the 1971 science fiction movie The Andromeda Strain. Instead of spending money to build something new, the production team reused the whole existing location, houses, streets, even the cold, empty atmosphere, and just changed a sign to say Gotham. This was a common Hollywood practice in the 1960s and 1970s. Cheap, fast, and surprisingly effective. So, which moment from Batman 1966 do you remember most? Leave a comment. And if you want to keep unlocking other deleted scenes from Hollywood's golden age, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. You might be surprised by what Hollywood has kept hidden from you for decades.